got a good seat for the show, right over here on the side. We were also told that this might be a good place to sit because some good stuff's going to happen on this side of the stage.
And also the exit is right behind us.
And the devices are right behind us.
That's good, because I'm going to need to go there immediately to get this video for you. All right, so that's the end of the Unpacked event. I'm just sort of chilling here right now, trying to take it all in. There was a lot. So we have a bunch of different phones, a few new wearables, the Galaxy Fold was announced, and of course the 5G phone at the end there. But I think we're gonna stick with the S10 family for now as we take a look at them and ask the question, who could they be for?
Look at this guy, fully in character.
Okay, so kind of the idea here is for me to go to each phone, kind of talk about what kind of user I think would be good for that particular phone, and then when I do my full review treatment on whatever phone I end up getting, we're gonna see if my predictions kind of line up with my testing. Hold up. So I know that I was doing my video on the experience zone with all of the different phones, but that was before, a little bit later in the day, I actually got myself a review unit. Clearly this is the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, and I will talk about why this phone might be for particular users, or rather speculate on that. But before we do that, I want to make sure to point you towards the unboxing that I did with Jaime over at Pocketnow. So that link is appearing in the card right now and is in the description. And just to prove it to you, here it is. We already unboxed the phone and I'm going to be using it now. It literally has the welcome screen right now that says let's go, and I'm going to get that set up shortly after this video to start using it. But before we get into that, the Galaxy S10 is clearly for the spec hungry. This is the phone that you want when you want everything. You have all these cameras on the back making the phone look a little bit like the Knight Rider car, and on the front you even have two cameras inside of what they now call the hole-in display. So 5 cameras. On the front you still get one shooter, and the other one is an 8 megapixel RGB depth sensor that's supposed to be good for portrait mode. The O display, which is what they call this with the hole in it, is going to be a 6.4-inch display, and it is a dynamic AMOLED, which means it can render out HDR10 plus quality. Now that's pretty great. I mean, Samsung phones have already had great quality in the displays. They are generally certified by YouTube, for example, so you can have a great time viewing everything on this, even though there's going to be a bit of a cutout when it comes to your full screen content. Speaking of all of those specifications that you can expect on here, if you're truly spec hungry, this is the one to get. You can get up to 12 gigabytes of RAM, for example. You can get up to 1 terabyte of storage. I mean, some of these specs are just bonkers when you think about where our specifications in these particular parts were in 2018. Also, this is the one with the largest battery. It's going to be 4100 milliamp hours, and just to kind of give you a preview of what's to come, when I talk about the Samsung Galaxy S10 later, you'll also hear me say once again that going from this phone to that one is a huge dip in the battery size. Quick thing about the cameras, my favorite thing about this, as you probably know if you followed me in this industry, is that I love wide-angle lenses. We finally have them on a Samsung device, one that can shoot 4K on the rear and on the front. You have so many options for these, and later I'm going to say why I think these phones are actually for vloggers. Now, you know who this phone may not be for though? Minimalists. This is an overwhelming device. There's a ton of stuff in this phone, especially the Plus model, that not only has all of those specifications, but there are also all of the new features that are in the new UI Samsung One. It's really easy on the eyes, but there's still all of those options that you're probably familiar with from previous Samsung devices. You might end up having that thing I used to call Galaxy Syndrome, when you buy a phone that's super expensive, like a Galaxy, even though this is at $999 and that's a very competitive price point, it's still a little high, and you might end up buying a phone where a lot of the features just never get used, and some of that money, let's say, went a little bit to waste. So there are other phones in this line, so you can actually make a choice based upon your budget and also what you actually want out of your phones. So let's get into the other two devices back at the experience zone. So obviously the Galaxy S10 is going to be the type of phone that's made for the core user. If you're having trouble trying to figure out which of the special features in the S10 Plus or which of the omissions in the S10e you're willing to sort of try out, well, maybe the middle portion is going to be the best for you. It still has all of the core features that make up the core experience. The triple camera here on the back, and on the front you don't get that depth sensor anymore, but the selfie focus pictures we're still doing pretty fine thus far. You do shave off a little bit of the screen, but at least least it's still Quad HD Plus resolution, and it's still a dynamic AMOLED with that ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. But you have to consider that there is a battery dip in the S10 from the S10 Plus, which has 4100 milliamp hours, and this one has 3400. Personally, I'm willing to bet that if you still can't decide which of the three phones you want by the time our full reviews come out, the S10 is going to fit you just fine. By far, however, the most intriguing development in these new phones is the new E variant. By all accounts, this is the phone that keeps the core experience while making some very mindful omissions. The main things you're going to lose out on are kind of the main features. The screen is no longer Quad HD resolution, it's going to be Full HD Plus. And of course, you're going to get a smaller battery even then with this one at 3100 milliamp hours. But aside from all of that, you still get the general quality of life benefits. The processor is still the top of the line one you would get on the other phones, and you get 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is still competitive. The triple camera setup for the other phones comes down to just 2 cameras for this one. But what I love about this is that you no longer get the telephoto lens, because I honestly didn't really use zoom a whole lot. The wide-angle camera is the secondary lens here, so that's honestly really exciting for me, and I think for a lot of you as well. Are you really going to miss the telephoto on the rear, honestly? Or are you more like me and you're stoked that the wide-angle lens is finally getting its due? Let's talk about that in the comments. Another feature that you're going to lose out on is the ultrasonic fingerprint reader. But over here on the power button that's up here on the side, it is sort of concave into the body, and that's where you register your fingerprint. And it's also the way that you actually get into the phone, and all of this in a phone that is $749 at its price point. No matter which way you slice it, for what you can get in the S10e, that's a really competitive and compelling price point. It's still competitive to many of the flagships that we even enjoyed in 2018, which themselves are still viable in 2019. So this is definitely right where it needs to be. I think the best part about all of these phones, especially when you think about the Galaxy S10e, is that across the board you get all of the specifications that you would still need to be competitive against current flagships. Even with the S10e, you still get 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of onboard storage, which means that most types of power users will be able to get things done no matter which of these phones they pick. And it's not like you miss out on some of the new features on all of the phones anyway. You still get 4K video recording on the front, you get the wide angle on all of the phones, and you get power share charging on every single one of them as well, which means you can charge up things like the Galaxy Buds, the Galaxy Watch, or you can even charge just other wireless charging devices without having to bring an extra cable for that device. And this is just a special one that I added in because of what happened on stage at the keynote event. Now, what we have on these are wide-angle lenses, not only on the back, but also on the front. It is one lens, but it crops it in a little bit, and then you can get a wider field of view. Honestly, I think that these are going to be the smartphones for vloggers. You have so many options for video recording, for documentation, but you also have a new version of Adobe Premiere Rush CC that's coming out just for these Galaxy devices. That means you can edit on the phone in a very effective way. Anybody out there who uses video and then puts it on their PC off their smartphones will be able to just leave everything on the phone. That's really exciting, and honestly, these phones might be the best for vloggers, and I can't wait to use it for that. Alright, we're only scratching the surface as to what the Samsung Galaxy S10 family can do. And yes, family. For the first time, we have 3 different devices in the S10 family, but they're all priced in a really good way to give you an idea of what kind of value you're getting. The S10e in particular is in a great price point at $749. Then, of course, the most premium one of the bunch starts at $999. So you can kind of get an idea of what kind of user these phones might work best for, and we'll see what kinds of users the S10 Plus is best for when I do my full review treatment, and you can look forward to that review coming soon. Hopefully when I fly out to MWC tomorrow, there will be some time with the Galaxy Fold, the 5G phone, any of the other announcements that were made up on stage today at Unpacked that we didn't get to get a look at here at the Experience Zone. But you know what? Until then, I'm just going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Look forward to all of my content on this phone, and until my next video, I would just remind you to enjoy your tea, everybody.